So I have quite a few of my friends and people around me asking, how do you make your cacao drink? So I like to mix it up every now and again. I have my raw cacao here. Usually it comes in quite big chunks, so I put it in here and then I like stab it to death basically until it's nice and small. But what I've wanted to do recently was actually maybe add some extra things that aren't always the same, because I'm always adding something like cinnamon and turmeric, which is great, but I'm a bit bored of that. And I found this when I was actually working at Glastonbury. In fact, I spoke to the lady who worked for the company, which I quite like the name, Dirty. It's sort of a tea, but I keep adding it to my cacao. So even though this has already got so many minerals in, you can in fact boost it with something like this. This is the power of the mushroom extract, which, yes, it sounds very bizarre, and no, you can't taste the mushroom flavour when you put it in a drink. But it doesn't smell particularly nice, so just don't smell it, just put it in stuff. In fact, she said you can add this to the tops of like meals or add it into food as you're cooking it, but I really like it in the drink. So this one is called Lion's Mane Powder, and it's organic, made from 100% fruiting bodies, rich in bioactive ingredients and abundant in beta-glucans. We use the highest standard of dual extraction to optimise active compounds for high strength and potency. Now, there are loads of different ones for like anxiety, depression. This one's actually called the focus mushroom. And I've got a long day ahead of me and I do need a lot of focus. So I'm going to make this up. But for adding a little bit of extra flavour, because this doesn't really add flavour, I've also just got some orange blossom water. So I obviously put a whole cup of water in here, but half of it I'm actually going to use orange water instead. We'll see how that goes. Yes, I'm using a Christmas mug. No, I don't care. I've run out of all my other mugs, so this is what I'm using. So I'm just putting in, that was just about half a cup. So now I'm going to add some of this. Oh wow. Gosh, that's very nice. And then put about half of that as well, and add that in. Now I add both of these at exactly the same time because I used to cook my cacao first, boil it, and then I'd add this, and this would just clump up into a ball and it didn't like it. So I add both of them at the same time now. And loads of people are like, I don't know how much cacao to put in, and I need to find out the exact measurements, and I don't. I just get basically a spoonful. This isn't a tablespoon either, it's a little bit smaller, it's just like a dessert spoon, and that's pretty much all I use for that. However, for the mushroom extract, I do use just a teaspoon. Okay, so now I'm going to turn that on. So at the very beginning, I just put it on a sort of medium heat, and you can use a whisk. I tend to just use a fork, and that just dissipates it all nicely, so it all mixes in. Then I basically leave it. So whilst that's cooking away, I'm going to talk about this. So this is the same company, Dirty, but they're already made up like cacao powder that they've got with their mushroom powder as well. So I thought, oh well, I'll give this a go. This actually has 3 different ones in, which I can't really say. Reishi, turkey tail, which I've heard of before, and tremella, which I haven't heard of before. So that's like a complete mushroom blend, but you've also got the sort of chocolate cacao powder in there. and I think it's got coconut powder in there as well. Now, I had this before I went to a festival. I just so happened to take this with me and thought I'll give it a go. I was so busy for the whole day. I didn't get a toilet break. I didn't have any lunch. I didn't even really sit down for the entire day, and I was absolutely fine. And I remember getting back to my friends, because I was staying with her, and I was like, I'm feeling fine. I mean, I'm hungry, but I don't feel like absolutely exhausted. You know, maybe 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon when you have that sort of slump and you've got no energy. I didn't have any of that. And I thought, hold on, what's going on? This was the one thing that I had in the morning. I had a little bit of a breakfast, but then I had an entire cup of this. And I thought, oh my goodness, I think this is what's kept me going. And I did it again the next day. Luckily I did get a break, but only about a 10-minute break before I had to sort of carry on again. And so I want to save this for as much as possible, for as long as possible, for when I have like a really busy next working day to sort of keep me going. But I've never had anything like that before. It wasn't, I didn't feel like I was on a high the whole day, but I just felt very calm and very focused for the entire day. So I wasn't feeling up, I wasn't feeling down, I was just sort of in the middle. And yeah, I couldn't believe it. It was fantastic. So I definitely recommend trying this stuff. It was absolutely amazing. You can add like a little bit of syrup or something if you want. I think I added like agave syrup without any sort of sweetness. It is a little bit weird, so you might want to add honey or maple syrup or something like that. The same with this one. I think I might add agave actually. Now, even though it's got this in, I wouldn't say this is going to be particularly sweet. So I think, yeah, it's more just sort of for the flavour, because it's only got concentrated orange flowers and water. So yes, we will add a little bit of this in at the end. So now I can see that that's getting nice and hot. So I'm actually now going to turn it up more. Now, I don't know if this is the secret or not, I've no idea, but I like to boil it for 1 minute, and that not only brings out all the flavours, but it also melts every single little bit in the bottom of it, because sometimes if you don't cook it very well and you pour it into your mug, as you're pouring it, there's like a big clump of chocolate right at the end that hasn't quite melted. So not only get right to the bottom of the saucepan and really make sure it's completely melted, but I feel like the boiling as well makes it nice and frothy on the top part, and you can really see if it's all completely melted is when you start looking at it, because it will be nice. It will be a nice smooth sort of texture. The very first time I did it, it was all very bitty, and I wasn't sure why, because I thought I'd cooked it for long enough, but obviously I hadn't. And if you can see all of the oils on the top of the surface as well, then you know that it's pretty much ready to go. But I mean, sometimes it can take about 10 minutes, I'll say, to boil. You can put it straight into the mug and use one of those like electric whisks, but I did that once and it went absolutely everywhere. So unless you've got like one of those extra large mugs, that probably won't work quite as well. I'm gonna bring you over just so you can have a look. So you might be able to see like all of these bits. That's what I mean by it's all itty bitty at the moment and it hasn't all melted. You might be able to start seeing, look, a little bit of the oils are coming through to the top now. If we get a little bit closer, if I start, can you see before loads of little bits came up onto the fork and become nice and smooth, and you should be able to see now all the oils have come to the surface. that's what you want it to look like. Sometimes, as I say, there's like a big clump left. So now I'm just going to put a little bit of syrup. So a bit more of a closer up. Now you can probably see the oil's a little bit more than that. So that's as smooth as you want to try and get it.